And welcome to Breakin Broncos podcast. As always, I am your host, Dan Wetstein, and yes, my co-host is here with me, Dylan Miles.
He's kind of baited
We
every week,
have
huh?
got,
Yeah.
I tell you, brother, but yet again, another trying week to be a Broncos fan, but we are trying to be as positive as possible. But we're going to go ahead and start off with the blowout with the Broncos blowing it in Nashville.
I was
Russ
gonna
is
say,
his
you
best
call that a
passing game.
blowout. I don't know what to call the other
Right.
games.
My bad. I corrected myself. But Russell had his best game passing since Las Vegas. Is there anything they can take from this as a positive going forward?
That they can move the ball when needed. That was definitely a big one. They were able to move the ball pretty well. Second half, not so much, but they were still putting it down the field. They just weren't able to get in range for much. But
Yeah,
it's a good side. The line is everything else on the field. I mean, the receiver injuries are starting to suck, but Jerry's day by day, most likely to play Sunday, is from what I've seen. But other than that, it's the line, man. The line is what's killing the offense, in my opinion.
okay. That is definitely a negative. But what about
positive? Yeah, you're right. You did say positive. Okay, yeah, positive is definitely defense still, but offensively, it's Russ being able to move the ball and use his legs when need be.
Agreed. Yes, that is the number one positive people can take from this game is that even though again they only were able to score 10 points all in the first, my biggest thing is the script finally worked. They got out to a 10-0 lead. This is the first time in the entire season that the opening script from the offense worked. I'm sad that it took 2 weeks of planning for it to finally work, and I'm sad that it only the script worked, but that is a definite positive step. For those of you that don't know what I mean when I say a script, every single NFL team at the beginning of a game has a quote unquote script of about 10 to 15 plays, and they are put in order. And no matter what's going on the field, they are going to run that script. They're going to see what works, I should say, the reason for it is they want to see what works and what doesn't, and then continue to do what does work while stopping doing what doesn't work.
And everything worked too, and that comes from good effort from the players too. I mean, especially from the running backs this week. I really want to highlight them too. Latavius Murray had a great game, but he was averaging around 3.5 to 4 a carry. I think he was close. Latavius Murray
It was under 4. I know no Broncos running back averaged at least 4 yards. I think the most was 3.5 yards.
And that did come from Latavius. And even Melvin Gordon, I mean, when they finally, passing, not so much. If they need to stop throwing the ball passing to him. If you're going to throw the ball, you got to bring in Chase Edmonds. Especially if you're going for a running back, in my opinion, right there. Because when they threw it.
Sorry, go ahead.
When they did throw it to Chase Edmonds, he made a lot of space. And that's why you and I knew we were pretty happy to get him here. He was a good space-making running back. And if you give him open field, he's gone. And there was a couple plays where he was close to having it, and you could see him start to top off until he finally got brought down. Just those few times he was in the game.
Definitely agree. And that was the most infuriating thing to me. There was two things that really got my craw. That was not using Chase Edmonds more, making Marlon Mack inactive. I do not understand that at all. As far as I know, he's completely healthy. There were some rumblings that he might have a lingering issue, but I have asked around everywhere I know and anyone I know, and there is not a mention from any of them, nor on any injury report anywhere, that there's anything wrong with Marlon Mack. So why he is inactive and Melvin Gordon is beyond me. And then you have the fact that this offense looks better with Kendall Hinton. I understand Hinton.
Thank you.
Yes. Hinton is not the fastest guy. No. He is not the quickest guy.
He's reliable.
He is exactly. He's a reliable third down. Like if you're in trouble, fine. He is the only receiver outside of Jerry Jeudy that knows what to do in the scramble drill. That's another reason why I want to see him on the field more. I tweeted about this during the game. The Broncos receivers do not do enough in the scramble drill. They just keep running the same route. None of them outside of Kendall Hinton and Jerry Jeudy ever break off a route. And it is infuriating. That is where Russ has made his hay his entire career, is just running around like a chicken with his head cut off, his receivers finding an open space, and him finding them in that open space.
And then
you can't
especially
find you in the open space if you don't go find the open space. Break off the route, find open space. That's all I'm asking.
And in that drive where they got the field goal before half, right before the Titans scored on the final drive of halftime, Kendall Hinton got open on a couple of those. He wasn't able to get hit because of where Russ was on the field, but he did find his man open, like Cortland and Jerry. But there's a couple of those on that drive where, especially on some of those third and longs that they got into, they converted because of Kendall Hinton on the scramble drill, especially. I think it was the one where I think he caught like the 30-yarder, 25, 30-yarder.
It was something roughly like that.
Yeah, he broke off. You watch the route. He was on the left side of the field, and he ended up catching that on the right side. Or no, he started on the right side, caught it on the left side. And it shows you where he was just running. He was running a slant, started from the right side of the field, and he was supposed to stop in the middle of the field for a quick pass. But as soon as Russ started scrambling, line was looking horrendous. He managed to avoid a sack, and Kendall Hinton was open on the left sideline for a pretty big play.
Perfect example. That is the difference between Hinton, Jeudy, and the rest of this wide receiver crew. And I don't think enough people are giving Russ credit for the audible on the touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think enough people understand.
Good audible. And I noticed that when he threw it too. That was a change play.
People want to call it just blown coverage. It wasn't. It would have been a blown coverage if he kept the original play and then Virgil got that open. The fact is that he audibled into a play that put Virgil into a place he knew he would be wide open. So that tells you, and the reason I bring that up is not just because I want to defend Russ. That is proof that Russ is starting to get this offense. He's starting to get in a rhythm with it. He's understanding when to audible, when not to audible, when to audible into a run, when to audible into a screen, into a pass. He is starting to get it down. And we told you all from the beginning of the season, and I'll say it again now, you got to give people time in this offense, especially with the type of schedule that Hackett had in the offseason that had so many starters taking so much time off and not being on the field. It's going to take a little bit longer. We told you it takes somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks.
Here,
guess where we're at, people.
Sorry.
You're all right.
I'm so here. But no, totally agree. And yeah, Jalen Virgil, man. How about that? Practice squad receiver coming in big time.
I've loved him. I've loved what he's looked like. The juice he brings. Like, he is a bigger, stronger version of Montrell Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just as fast. Like, Virgil is, we all saw it right there on that 66-yarder. Once he got it, he was gone. He destroyed all angles. There was multiple defenders that had good angles. He was just so dang fast, it didn't matter. He was just gone. And then Sutton sticking with the play all the way to the end, throwing his body in there for his teammate. That was great to see. That's, again, the reason I bring that up is to show you this team still fights for each other. This is not a team that's just, I didn't get the football, so I'm going to
and he's a rookie, too. That was a great route ran by a very, very smart rookie mind. Like, most of those guys, especially on the audibles, especially rookie receivers, sometimes it takes a lot of time to learn those. This man's been on the practice squad. He's barely ran first offense reps in practice. And especially on that audible call, which was huge, the fact that he was able to read that shows you that he's smart, knows what he's doing, and that he could be pretty reliable down the stretch if these injuries keep coming up. And we'll probably see more of them this weekend too. My guess is he's on the active roster.
Yeah, it's all really going to depend on KJ Hamler. If Hamler's ready to go from the hamstring injury he had, which I highly doubt this quickly, of a turnaround for him to miss a game with the hamstring injury, normally that's a multiple week, usually somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks. So I definitely do look forward to seeing much more of Jalen Virgil and seeing what he can add to this offense, which obviously there's the speed, but I want to see, can he run the routes? Can he take a shot over the middle and keep going? Or is this just an outside guy that's just going to run go routes? Like, can he develop into more, or is this just a speed guy? That's what I want to see, and I think we'll get plenty of opportunity to see that going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So,
definitely.
speaking of injuries, since you brought them up, are the injuries a legit excuse or a crutch for a bad team?
Okay, there's two answers to this. Crutch for a bad team. You could say that, but especially for on some of the receiver sides too, on the offensive side, when some of these playmakers go down, you could use that excuse. But the offensive line is where I see it the most, where you can use the injury excuse, because the line wasn't as bad when all the starters were still playing at the beginning of the season. When he still had Garrett Bowles out there, Russ wasn't getting hit nearly as much. He was still getting hit, right? But he's not being pressured every play to where he has to move. That's why I really do miss Garrett Bowles, and I said that when he was gone, that we're gonna miss him. And I saw some people on Twitter saying, "Oh, we won't miss him much." You go, bullshit. I'm sorry, but
you don't.
Bullshit, no, because look at the games before Garrett Bowles broke his leg. Russ, I think Russ maybe got sacked 3 times from the left side.
Yeah, like when he went down, he had a total of 2 sacks given up all season. Now he was reverting back to some bad habits of holding and things of that nature, but
Russ
I think that was
hit.
a little. Yeah, he was exactly. He wasn't getting hit. He was. That's the difference between a Garrett Bowles and a Cam Fleming or a Billy Turner, which again, both of those guys are gone. The Broncos are now down to their 4th string left tackle, their 3rd string center, their 5th string right tackle. Okay, the only 2 guys that are left on this line from day one, and they haven't even been in every game, they've also been injured and out, are Dalton Reisner and Quinn Miners. And the only one of them
those are the 2 best players on that line. I would even argue that with the starters.
Yeah. And honestly, Quinn Miners is the only one I would say has played above average this season. Like Reisner has been okay, but he's not nearly as dominant.
Oh, Quinn Miners is going to find himself a permanent starting spot.
Yes, Quinn Miners has earned a lot of money this year, and he's going to earn even more next year because he's still under his rookie contract until after next season. So the Broncos are getting a hell of a player at a 5th round discount, a rookie deal. 5th round discount. Miners is going to be. Oh yes, yeah. He reminds me a lot, and I hate to heap this praise on him already, but he reminds me a lot of the kid from Indianapolis, Quentin Nelson.
Oh, Quentin Nelson.
That type of mauler, athletic, just giant monster of a man.
For their size, especially the way him and Quentin Nelson move. Quinn Miners and Quentin Nelson move.
And think about just how good Miners has been. His first penalty of the season came on a BS holding call.
That call,
man. Oh my God, I was so angry. Yes, it killed that, and it was a BS call. That was not a hold. He pancaked his man.
And
there was no pulling. You are allowed to grab inside the pad.
Yes, that's where you're supposed to grab. That's where that's
the only legal place. Yes, that is the only legal place.
Grade, they taught me that when I played center.
Day one. That is blocking 101. If you are an offensive lineman, the only thing you can grab is right up inside the shoulder pad.
As my coach said to me in 3rd grade, you grab them at the tits. I was in 3rd grade. That was in 3rd grade, dude. I swear to God he said that. I was in 3rd grade. And that's what he taught all 5 of us little linemen.
Did they pull him from Family Guy?
It was one of our players' dads.
Oh my goodness. Maybe that's why I would never. I have coached so many. I know you have too. I would never. Even in high school. I don't even know if I can say that to high school.
My Ruthers who are in junior high and high school, I don't even curse around.
Right? Like, no. Like, if anybody knows me outside,
slip every once and then, but it's never intentional.
Right, and it's never like you're dropping an F-bomb.
Right, like, I had to put a hat on my head.
I just tell the kids the worst I might give is like, S-word or something like that. Obviously, I know I sound like an
F-bomb.
Right, like I'm punishing myself if I drop something like that. But back to the injuries here.
Sorry, I had to put a hat on, dude. My hair was all over the place.
You're okay. The reason I want to talk about this again. Okay, there are 20. I'm going to say it again. There are 20 different Broncos on the injured list.
Yeah, I did look at it. You're right.
Yeah. It's an insane list of players. So while you never want to give grown-ups excuses,
hmm
and that's why I don't want to even really say that this is a legitimate excuse. It's just a legitimate reason. Like, we just broke down how shambled this offensive line. They are playing a fifth round rookie at center. We have a guy that just came off of IR named Tom Compton that's going to have to be our right tackle, the fifth right tackle they have played this season.
And that's a guy who I would like to see there, actually. The way, especially watching
he
some
was
of those
decent in
practices.
Tampa.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
watching some of the practices, especially in training camp, I would watch those streams, when Atwater would have somebody on every day. And they'd be showing, it would just be the practice showing the whole time. And especially when he got in there were some things I did like to see, especially was blocking especially on the right edge. That's
Right.
also going to be a dangerous spot as well. It's not the blind side. That's a dangerous spot. And that's where both times where he's been getting hit, he's going to collapse in on both sides of the line.
Yeah, you can't survive if you don't have a lane to get out of. But just to again underscore how ridiculous the injuries are. Okay, the Broncos just signed a new tight end to the roster yesterday, Mitchell Fraboni. He's now on the IR. Like literally 24 hours, the kid was in the office,
and this is something I've talked about.
And I want to be clear, he is not on the injured list.
IR.
He is on the injured reserve. He's done for the rest of the year. He spent 24 hours in Dove Valley and now is done for the season. Like, that is the insanity of the Broncos this season.
Yeah.
And I know I went really hard at Mark Kisla and James Merilatt when they wanted to jump on the hamstring thing because, again, just jumping on the hamstring thing is stupid. You're using anecdotal evidence because, again, like I stated then, the Broncos have 2 players on the injured list with hamstring injuries out of the 29 in the entire NFL. There is not an epidemic of hamstring injuries. Now, is there an epidemic of injuries overall in Denver? I will have to agree. Like, we can't just sit
when the
here
hell are
and
we going to fire this staff, man? This training staff since Greek left has been abysmal.
I'm saying, yeah, ever since Greek left, like, I know they brought Greek back as a consultant, but obviously that's not good enough.
And I know he's not going to come back and do a full time, but you got to get that man in there. You got to get that man in there and help find somebody. Oh, he's got to be close to his 80s, right?
He's got to be. I'm going to look it up now. Anthonopoulos. Greek Anthonopoulos. I don't know how to spell it, but I think I'll get close.
You'll get a correction.
There it is. Yep, Steve Greek Anthonopoulos through the years.
Good old Greek.
Oh, well, I guess he's not that old. I mean, he's still 50, so he's not spring chicken. Yeah.
Bro, he looks like he's in his 70s.
It's kind of really bad to say about a guy that's all about.
I know, but like, come on, you can't disagree with me, right?
It's true. I'm not disagreeing with you, brother. It's true though. That's sad. I'm sorry. That is really sad. But he was a great trainer. He was a great trainer, strength and conditioning coach.
He's 72.
Is he?
Yeah, I just looked it up.
What the hell?
He has worked for the Broncos for nearly 50 years.
Oh, I misread that. My bad, guys. I was looking at time with the Broncos.
Bullshit, he's 50.
Right? I was like, wow, that's so bad. Okay,
I was like, dude, you did not age right.
Let's flip that. He looks really good for a 73.
But he does look really good for 70. If he was 50, dude.
He looks terrible for 50, but at 73.
You might need to go talk to your consultant. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, whatever the Broncos got to do. Hire a whole new strength and conditioning.
You get him on the hiring committee.
Do better on the scheduling in the offseason. Maybe add a little bit extra practice, add a little bit extra contact, kind of give them more of a callus to their bodies and getting used to it. I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be one magic pill that fixes everything, but it's definitely a fixable thing, and it's something that needs to be rectified. This has been too many years in a row. Like, if this is just a one-off every once in a while, this has been like 3 years in a row. The Broncos have been the most injured team in the NFL. That's got to stop. I understand that It's 100% chance of injury in the NFL, but it's not like that's not a literal thing. Like you're not supposed to have 100% of your players hurt every single season.
And
it's more of an analogy than a literal thing.
And I mean, God, dude, like, but you know what the nice thing is, the two key injuries that were there for me that day were Jerry Jeudy and Graham Glasgow. I mean, dude, Glasgow coming back in, he's been looking good, man. He's looking.
I don't think enough people have talked about Billy Turner. Billy had actually done a pretty good job of stabilizing that right side of the line with him and Miners. They were maulers over. That was the one place they had success running the ball. But after he went down, and then Glasgow, and it was, oh my God, it was
so is day to day though, which is a very good sign because you saw how abysmal. I don't even remember the kid's name. The center that came in for Glasgow.
Oh, Wattenberg.
Yeah. Jesus, man. How many mishandled snaps were there from him? Some of those drives could have been very good scoring plays. Like, there were a lot of plays that were left perfectly off bobbled snaps. There were so many good calls. There were so many wide open receivers, but these snaps were just so bad. I mean, sure, some of them could have been Russ being used to it, but most of them had to have come from him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was 3 balls that he rolled. Like it was like he was bowling. And there was another one where, you technically like your quarterback to catch it, but when it's fired at you when you're not expecting it up over your head to your left, you can't expect that to be.
I fully expect Glasgow to probably play this weekend, especially coming off of a day-to-day, which is a very good sign. Gives me hope he plays by this weekend, but if not, God, you got to work on your snaps. But I mean, like looking at him blocking. Looking at blocking, perfectly fine. It was just the snap.
Thankfully, because it wasn't Jeffrey Simmons over there. Mm-hmm. He was getting work once when he got matched up against one-on-one against defensive ends. Like he cannot handle speed. That was one thing I noticed.
Oh, I'm talking about the center.
Yeah, I'm talking about the center too. I'm talking about like when they run stunts and like have the come like he cannot handle that whatsoever. But I think that's more of a rookie thing. Yeah. He's just not used to the speed of the game. And that's
that will come over time.
Practice squad, they pulled him up, hoping that they wouldn't have to use him. He was just really supposed to be a body on the sideline, and then he gets shoved in there because.
Now, hopefully, he's getting some reps because if they are expecting him to play this weekend and not Glasgow or Cush, but Cush is definitely not playing.
Glasgow hasn't practiced yet, so Wattenberg's getting all of the snaps.
Good, because that will help over time, especially if he is in there for a couple of more weeks. If they especially this weekend against the Raiders, God, dude, if they lose this game, I'm gonna. Sorry, this game they lost to Jeff Saturday. If we lose to the team that lost to Jeff Saturday, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. The Raiders are at this point the worst team in the West, maybe the worst team in the league.
I'd say AFC at best.
Delicious. Yeah, at the least, probably at least AFC. It's absolutely beautiful to watch Josh McDaniels be this bad.
And did you see the thing that came out today about him?
No, sorry. There will be a mutiny in Broncos country if the Broncos lose to McDaniels twice. There's not going to be a person in this world that can save Nathaniel Hackett if he loses to
I'll call for it.
And have 2 of the 3 wins that the Raiders have this year be against the Broncos, and then do it in Mile High. No, that's not here. Hackett has to figure it out. They have to win this weekend.
I love Hackett.
It's over.
I love Hackett. Yes. If you lose to McDaniels and the Raiders, what makes it worse? McDaniels already sucks, right? If you lose twice to McDaniels on some other team outside the division, okay, I'm pissed, but whatever. But you do it to the Raiders with McDaniels twice, dude. I'll call for his job. I don't care.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't like it when the Broncos lost to him on good Patriots teams, but I understood it.
Right.
I did not understand.
I could not stand him, but I respected him.
No. Yeah, I can understand. It wasn't him that beat the Broncos. Mm-hmm. It was his offense and his players that were
Brady and Belichick.
Belichick, exactly, that won those games. I understood it. Losing to him twice to the Raiders and including one in I'm done. I love the scheme that Hackett had. I love the potential of his offense. And I think that the majority, if not all, of the issues he has are correctable. And they're things that I think he's willing to correct because he's done it over the season, bringing in the clock management coach, bringing in all these other elderly people. I don't know if that's probably the best word to use. Experienced. I shouldn't say elderly. Yeah, I should say that's a little mean. You'll say experienced people.
Oh no, definitely experienced. No,
yeah,
but
so,
did you see
that word?
The stuff that came out on McDaniels today?
Today,
why they haven't fired him and why they won't fire him after? Why they will fire him after next season?
No,
there's a bunch of it's an insider from the Raiders. I forget.
Don't have the money. Is that what you're talking about?
They don't have the money. So they are stuck with McDaniels at least until the end of next season.
Well, you think that because now they're also having to deal with the lawsuit from John Gruden. So yeah, I'm sure Gruden's siphoning that money because Mark Davis. Yes,
thank you, John Gruden.
Yes, thank you, John. John.
It's the Gruden one time you get it.
Yeah,
and for beating the Raiders in the Super Bowl 2002.
Yes, we'll take both of those things. Now you can go off and crawl in a corner and curl up in a ball. I don't care.
Right.
But no, that is the greatest thing ever to know that Mark Davis is broke. The Raiders are broke.
That's like some Jerry Buss buying the Lakers in the 80s type crap, right? Like
yes. Oh,
that's literally what happened with Jerry Buss, dude. He was losing money with the Lakers. And then Magic Johnson came in, baby. That's a whole other thing.
Saved it all. But yes, that is the most delicious thing ever. So, speaking of Hackett and his offense, are they overthinking it? He admitted before bringing in the clock management coach, he was getting lost in the previous play, that he was getting angry at the previous play not working. He wasn't thinking about what's next. And we have said this ad nauseum as well, that play calling is an art form, that you have to always be ready for what's next. Mm-hmm. There's only 45 seconds.
And you can tell. Plays. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was saying that there's only 45 seconds between plays. Mm-hmm. That is not a lot of time. Like you gotta be ready. You gotta have that next play ready. You cannot sit there and do the rookie mistake, like you said, of worrying about what happened the last play. That's done, buried, water under the bridge. You got to move on. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to hear that he's saying that he's worked on that and that his
and you can see
management coach. Yeah, but that's the point I'm wanting to make is that he is willing to self-scout and he's willing to make the necessary changes to be better. I'm just hoping that over this last half of the season, he shows enough to stick around to make those changes.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree too. I like Hackett. I've said it since they hired him. I will always stand by that, even if he gets fired by the end of the season. I liked him, but it didn't work out. Right? If that's the case, it just didn't work out. But you can totally see the difference from him starting to get better with that. Because it's definitely earlier on in the season when some of those big plays didn't work, you could tell by the play call the next play that he's still but then you saw, especially this week, the play before the Jalen Virgil touchdown was a blown play. Russ got sacked.
Yeah.
The next play, he goes, you know what? Let's call this. Although it got audible, it's still Hackett's call. Hackett goes, if you go with this play here, this is something I like what Mike Shanahan did too. And I know Hackett does the same from what I've read and heard, is that you go with this play. If you don't like anything you see there, if something goes off, you switch to this one. There's a plenty of mic'd up moments between Mike Shanahan and John Elway, and just how quick they get. I might have to find the clip. I think it's from Super Bowl 33.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Is that in this type of offense, every formation has at least 4 to 5 plays from that formation. That's the beauty of this offense, is that the same formation can have 5 different variables. That's why it's so hard for the defense to keep up with. So that's a great point.
I think I might butcher the play names here, but it's something similar like this, where John comes up to him and Shannon goes, why don't we run Fox 2-0 go? And if it doesn't work out, you go slot right gunsling left, or slot right gunsling. Oh, I forgot what the rest of it was, but and he names like 3 more plays after that. Jesus, dude.
Yep.
After the second play, you lost me. And
that's why it's so hard.
Yeah, and it's the beauty of it, too. That's the beauty of that offense and why it's difficult to run in the same instance.
It's why Jake Plummer said it's the best when it's going. It's the best.
That man strived
going
in the Shanahan system. He had okay years with the Cardinals before he got to Denver. But as soon as he got to Denver, you saw that first season. Jake Plummer, Jesus. Jake Plummer kind of played like shit.
For the first half of the season, he was bad.
And they turned it around and made the playoffs. Yes. You lose to Peyton Manning and the Colts, but still, you made the playoffs.
Again, you lost to Peyton Manning and the Colts.
That is Marvin Harris, Peyton Manning, Colts. That's that era.
Yes. That was that. I mean,
and Robert Mathis.
So that's why we've been preaching to y'all. Give this team time. It's not as pretty as we all wanted it to be at first.
Oh, I'm frustrated.
But this offense,
coming.
It never is. Yeah, we did a whole segment on this a couple of weeks ago where we were pointing out all of this. We gave you a link to an article by Jeff Legwald where he broke this down.
Mm-hmm. We're not saying the same week Jake came out and said the same thing.
Yeah. We're not saying these things because we're biased and we're looking at things with orange and blue tinted glasses. We're saying this because it's the truth. It's the facts. It is what is the reality. We are not the clickbait people that are going to sit here and talk about whatever trending topic on Twitter is just because it's a trending topic on Twitter. If we bring it up, it's going to be either to reinforce it or we're going to debunk it like we always do. That is what our job. We are here to bring you the facts and the reality. We are not here to just entice you with clickbait. It's why we grow at the rate we do. Yes, we grow slower than most other channels. But
that's the clickbait. I hate that crap, dude.
Exactly. I got into this industry to destroy the clickbait industry because
do you remember the first community? One of the first things they taught us was, at least with me, it wasn't even in talk radio. It was music radio with Tracy. It's. You don't go by their standards. You go by your own.
Exactly. And that is why we're building a different type of community. This is a community that's going to stick together because we're not just here to entice you with dopamine flashes to, reinforce your erroneous narrative. We're here to give you the reality of the fact. And the reality of the fact is these issues are not just on the coaches. There's an issue with injuries. There's an issue with lack of talent because of the injuries. There's issues with a lack of continuity because of the injuries. Like there's so many things that can be tied back to the injuries. Then you get the fact that it's first time coach, first time everything. Yes, I know you
Russ in his new year his first year with a new team. And this is the first time he's ever been on a new team. It's not like he bounced around like previous quarterbacks we had or they had.
Exactly.
I got back in that habit, dude. After Josh got me to break it,
Yes. So, with all this being said, though, he's a rookie. He's calling the plays. Should he be handing off the play calling at this point?
Ooh, who do you give it to?
At this point, the only option really would be Justin out.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm a little skeptical. I would love to see how he would call the plays. I think would be interesting. It could work and it couldn't work, right? It's you're taking a shot. It could pay off. It's like always a 50-50. It could pay off or it could go bad. It could go horribly wrong. But I wouldn't hate to see Justin Outen call some plays, especially coming up. I would say after the Raiders game at least.
I would say I agree that he should, simply for the fact of the statement that I said earlier. If you are so caught up in everything that you can't focus on what's next, then I have a problem with you calling the play.
And that's what I love.
Maybe taking a little something off of his plate, putting it on Justin Outen, where Outen can just concentrate on calling plays and running the offense, while it frees up Nathaniel Hackett to take care of the rest of the duties of a head coach, which obviously seem to be overwhelming him a little bit.
Oh, first-time head coach, definitely.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that the play calling duties are just a little bit too much for him right now. Maybe he can pick it up later. I know it's hard to hand them off and then take them back for what, but you're the head coach, bro. That's your
Right.
prerogative. You get that choice. So let's
even
not
back in the
worry about
day,
people's fifis, and let's worry about what's going to win games.
even back in the day, Shanahan was calling plays, right? I mean,
Oh,
we all know
are.
Shanahan was calling plays, but Gary Kubiak was calling some too. You know, they
Yeah.
were at some points in the game, especially when Mike needed to do other things, especially on the
The,
sideline, Gary took over.
yeah, the thing with that is that Gary called in the plays. Shanahan had veto power.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it worked
Most of the
with
time
them.
they weren't, though. There was
Yeah.
a select
At
few
first,
that word.
right. Yeah. The first couple of years until Shanahan trusted Kubiak, yes, it was 100% Shanahan. He was calling the plays, but once he got comfortable with Kubiak, and this is what got Kubiak the job. Like he literally gave up play calling duties to get Kubiak a head coaching job. Because as much as people talk about Eric Bieniemy and the reason he doesn't get a job is because he doesn't call plays, the same thing was being said about Gary Kubiak. And Shanahan handed off the duties. They went and won back-to-back Super Bowls, and he got a job in Houston. So,
and you know what
that's what can happen. So I would love to see just a change of pace, get a different voice in Russell's head. Maybe that could be the spark that ignites this offense to where they're finally clicking. And since that's his one job, he can just focus on the play calling. And again, it frees up Hackett, to be that everybody loves the head coach, that player's coach, and it takes some of the pressure off him. And at the same time, it can give him a bit of a scapegoat. I hate to say that, and I don't want people to take that the wrong way. But if he hands over the play calling duties and the offense still sucks at the end of the year, he's got a scapegoat to fire and stick around for another season.
Exactly. And you know what
question real quick. I don't want to go any further down this rabbit hole real quick. I got some questions here in the chat. How did you feel about Russell and Sierra being in Cabo? I made it absolutely clear on Twitter. I don't give a damn.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, I don't. He took a vacation when he was supposed to take a vacation.
The week that every player will always take a vacation. They're acting like Brady doesn't go and take vacations during that time. They act like Peyton never did. Peyton was at a beach the year they lost the Super Bowl on the bye. Granted, they were winning.
Yeah.
But you didn't see anybody talk about it then. It's as soon as they're losing is when the haters start to come out, and that's what's annoying. Where are the haters when they win? They're sure there are some, but they're not as many.
Do you think him getting what? Yes, that is.
It did.
I honestly believe that's what it was. It got him into another country where he didn't have to hear all of the BS constantly. He didn't have to worry about every time he turned on the TV, somebody was making fun of him or saying something or attacking his character for no reason whatsoever. Like, yes, I 100% agree with this. I love the fact that he got away from it. And even when he got away, he was still out working. He was still doing workouts and stuff like that. So
he's also still probably looking at film in the room in the morning too. And I mean,
I'm sure this is Russ, people.
I mean,
and this is not Kyler Murray. This is not Jay Cutler. This is not Paxton Lynch. I promise you that there is not an issue with Russell Wilson's work ethic. Period.
And there's two things here for me. I want to first go back on the Russ thing. Is in the Peyton's Places episode I was talking to you about before we got on. Peyton goes, well, why don't we look at some film? Even though he was going to look at some of his old baseball stuff, he goes, when you say that to a quarterback, they never say no. So that means like he's probably watching it in Cabo. He's got to take time for work, but then also relax as you're on vacation in a bye week. But I also wanted to highlight another coach, which is Clint Kubiak, one of Gary Kubiak's sons, who is the passer coach on the Broncos offense. So he's working with Russ and the receivers every day. And I can see that he's improved, definitely from the beginning of the season to now, and that those two completely trust each other. I still think there's still some lack of trust between some of the players and Nathaniel Hackett. As much as they're going to talk and praise him, there's definitely not 100% trust there. And I feel like, especially if they get a big win this week, which it is, I don't care what people say. If you beat the Raiders, it's a big win for everybody.
It's an absolute big win, and it's for more reason than one. And I'm going to tell you right now why. Believe it or not, Broncos are a total of 2 games out of a playoff spot. That's it.
Surprising.
Think about that, people. I know that's probably shocking a lot of you right now, but
I knew that too, and I'm still like, God.
They are only 2 games out of a playoff spot. So this is no way near the end of the road.
No.
At this point, there is a projection that there's going to be at least one team coming out of the AFC with a losing record. Now,
And
the
NFC
Broncos still
possibly,
actually have a
especially in some of
chance.
those divisions.
Oh, definitely in the NFC. That's a definite. That's why
The Commanders made it in at 7-9 in the COVID season. Taylor
Yes,
Heineke popped off in a playoff loss.
I think it's been like 5 years straight that the NFC has had a losing team in the
Cowboys were
playoffs.
one of
Like
those,
that's
right?
insane. Yeah, Cowboys,
Oh,
Seahawks.
yeah, it was because they beat the Seahawks in Dak's first
Yep.
playoff win, and then they got
Yep.
killed by the Rams.
Yep. Yeah. So the NFC is the least. AFC is always the beast. That's just how it is right now.
Right.
The West is best.
Like, even though
That's
some
all
of
we
these
can say.
teams are winning from the NFC, since John Elway and the Denver Broncos beat Brett Favre and the Packers to snap a 14-season NFC Super Bowl winning streak, the AFC's been more than dominant since then. I believe the AFC's won more Super Bowls than the NFC since '97.
Yeah, so now again just brought up the fact that the Broncos are only 2 games out of a playoff spot. So with that being said, is that a realistic goal, or is this something we should just forget about and look forward to 2023? I will say right now, it is very realistic. Let me run down who the Broncos have left on their schedule. This is the right schedule. Sorry, I thought I had the wrong schedule for a second. But anyway, this weekend against Las Vegas, they should win that. Next weekend against Carolina, they should win that. Next weekend after that, Baltimore, most likely a loss.
It could be doable. It's a doable game, though, especially the way
doable
the Ravens'
But
defense
it's
has
in
been.
Baltimore. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's in Baltimore. So I'm not. It's going to be cold. It's in December on December 4th. So I'm not going to sit here this far out and say that the Broncos have a chance to beat Baltimore because they don't look like they do. But
Can I
again,
say something real quick, though?
Go ahead.
The way the Baltimore defense has been playing, they have been blowing the pass game pretty big the past couple of weeks. And if they keep that up, there's a very good chance they can win, especially the way the defense has been. And I definitely will keep playing.
Yeah, I did. There's a chance. I'm not taking
that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I'm just saying the most. I'm just trying to get through the most logical path to the playoffs. So first up again, Las Vegas this weekend should be a win. That makes them 4-6. Excuse me. Then Carolina win 5-6. Baltimore most likely a loss 5-7. Kansas City at home. I want to say that they're going to win, but lost 5-8.
That's a game that we need to get to.
Yes. Against Arizona the next week at home, I say that's a win. That puts them at 6-8. The Rams in LA, they're just falling off a cliff. This is the worst Super Bowl hangover I've ever saw.
They brought back like majority starters.
Right. But that's a win. That puts the Broncos at 8-8. That's a 500 record with 2 games left. Kansas City and Los Angeles, the Chargers. One of the teams that they're behind right now is the Los Angeles Chargers. If they beat Kansas City and LA to finish out the season and finish out 10-8, they're in the playoffs. That's the easiest path. Now there's some others more convoluted ways for them to get there, but the easiest and most realistic path is them, like I just said, beating Las Vegas, beating Carolina, losing to Baltimore and Kansas City, beating Arizona Rams, Kansas City, and Chargers to finish out the season.
And
I bring up Kansas City at the end because, yes, it is in Kansas City, but I do believe they'll have the division wrapped up and their seeding will be wrapped up by then. So they'll be playing. They most likely won't play their starters. So that's why the Broncos have a better chance in Kansas City to beat Kansas City than at this point they have at home. Now, they can shock everybody. I'm not saying that it's impossible at this point. With this defense, any given Sunday, if the offense just shows up, like this is an insane stat I saw. Sorry, one more stat real quick, and I'll let you talk.
Yeah, I'm going to turn. If
the Broncos scored 18 points, just 18 points in every single game, they would be 8-1 right now.
Yeah, and you brought that stat up to me on Twitter when I saw that post. I was like, and I kind of thought about that, and I didn't really go into depth. And I go, God, they are really just 18 points away from being 8-1, and it's true, and it's crazy too.
Yeah, They're averaging 16 points a game. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry, that went down to 14 until this weekend against Tennessee. They were averaging 6. So if they were to just average 2 extra points a game, just an extra 2-point conversion a game, they are 8-1.
And
that is the most insane stat I've ever. That just tells you how good this defense has been and has continued to be. Because even after all these losses that they've had to endure, where they played in a way that there's no reason the Broncos should have lost, they are still out there against Tennessee all the way to the last whistle, whacking folks. And another thing I got to say, I said it on Twitter, I'm going to say it again here. The outlaw owns the king. Plain and simple. Josie Jewell owns Derrick Henry.
Dude,
and it's not even close.
I want to bring up Singletary too, real quick.
Singleton.
Both of those, or Singletary. I always say Singletary, dude. I'm always used to.
Okay, my guy, I'll always be here.
But with Singleton and Josie Jewell, I mean, God, both of them were just hitting them. He doesn't get hit nearly as hard whenever he plays the Broncos. And I also want to.
I've never seen anybody knock him backwards, but Josie.
Right, and there's two more small points about them. Yeah, and then there's 2 small points for me here that's a good way for the Broncos to get the playoffs too. Is if the Chargers keep playing the way they've been.
Yes,
the defense
that's another thing.
Has just been blowing games in the second half. The offense can keep up. Not this past week, and that's the only time I haven't seen the offense keep up. But other than that, the offense keeps up, but the defense blows games. If they keep that up, the Broncos are just probably a game and close to being tied to the Chargers by the time they get to Kansas City, the first time around.
Yeah, and they should have beat LA the first time they played because Justin Herbert and all that offense was held in check by this Denver defense. Let's get to this question here real quick. Do you think Russell Wilson has more hype than what he is worth? As the Broncos starting QB, a lot of Broncos fans seem to be upset with him. I will say this succinctly. Those are not Broncos fans.
Those are
fair weather fans.
Yeah, and he deserved all the hype. I will stand by. He deserved all the hype coming to Denver. I mean, look at the squad. Yes. Now look what he has from what's missing in that squad.
Thank you. He lost his best possession receiver before the season ever started.
Yeah, we lost him, Patrick. Right,
3/5 of his offensive line. He has lost Jerry Jeudy on the first play against Tennessee. He lost KJ Hamler for most of the season. KJ Hamler's played 3 games this season.
And he lost Javonte Williams.
Yes, again, Javonte Williams.
They win all these games if Javonte's there since the injury.
I think they could. Yeah, at least the ones they were ahead in. Like there might be 1 or 2 other games that he wouldn't have been able to save, but the ones that they were ahead in the second half,
Tennessee,
he would have ate the clock. Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's one of the games I'm talking about. I think they could have just turned around and handed off.
Right. Tennessee. I got to go look at the schedule. 1 sec.
Like the only ones that I think that he wouldn't have been able to save are the Raiders game. And obviously the games he was in, Seattle, the first 3 games, Seattle, and then I forget in a row
Niners
what they are.
And
Niners. Well, they beat the Niners.
Yeah. So see, who are the first 3 games?
And think about that.
Texans,
they beat the Niners. Yeah, they beat the Niners, who are the second. They have the second best odds to come out of the NFC as representative of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and rightly so.
And they handled them.
Yeah, and rightly so. And that shows you how strong that defense is. And this is the other point I wanted to bring up, especially going into the Chiefs games. I know we're weeks ahead of that. And I know, and I want to bring this up is look at like when we were talking about Derrick Henry always struggled against the Broncos. Patrick Mahomes always struggles against the Broncos because of the D. That defense loves to hit Patrick Mahomes because they're tired of seeing him win. And last year, dude, he targeted Pat Surtain in the 2 games they played against the Broncos. He targeted him on. He targeted whatever receiver he was covering. It was Cheetah then. Had to be Cheetah every time. So every time he targeted Tyreek Hill, Pat Surtain was on him 3 times in 2 games against the Broncos. He targeted him, and one of them was a catch for -2 yards, and the 2 were batted passes by Pat Surtain.
Yeah, Surtain has I don't see how anybody
the only thing I've seen about him is he's the best corner in the league on social media, rightfully so. I'm glad he's
getting that. Well, unless you talk to Jets fans because they're all love Sauce Gardner.
I love Sauce, but he's not better than Pat.
Yeah, I love Sauce, but yeah, definitely nowhere near yet on the level of PS2 because if PS2 interfered with receivers the way that Sauce did, he would actually get flagged. I don't know what it is about Sauce. I swear he is paying off the referees before the game because the way he be molesting receivers out there on the field is absolutely asinine for him to never get flagged. Like, I think he has one PI all year, and there's just photo after
meanwhile,
photo.
Damari Mathis is doing the same thing, getting called for it.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's my thing. It's like, if it's a Bronco, they're getting called.
Some of those were bull. Most of them.
Oh, yeah, there were some legit ones. Yeah, there were some legit ones on Damari. He's a rookie. But again, that's the difference is we're not saying that Damari doesn't deserve all of them. We're saying that freaking Sauce deserves some of them, damn it.
Most. Some of them are really good coverage, and then there's some where I go, that's like the easiest flag I think I've ever seen in my life. But you never know. I've seen blind refs before, and I saw it in the Saints-Rams game. Just saying. That's the only thing I'll give Saints fans. I'm sorry. I won't give you the push-off in the end zone, and I won't give you anything else except for that PI.
Yeah, that PI was the biggest BS ever.
Because they would have beat Brady. I bet you they beat Brady.
How about that? I still remember the name. But moving on from all this badness to the bowl of the bad. Raiders preview. What is the best avenue for a Broncos victory?
Defense plays good, obviously, because we know they will. The defense is always my number one, or my number two. I mean, defense is always my number two because I know what they are. They're solid. I mean, Evero has just been – he turned – like, the defense was good. The defense last year was good. He made them even better. And you can hear the praise he's getting from not just the players, but in the Denver media. He's getting finally national recognition. But for me, this one is the offense needs to play how they've been and move the ball. You move the ball, but you need to turnovers. You got to stop the turnovers, the picks, the fumbles, especially the bobbled snaps is what I'm talking about. But you also need to protect Russ.
The turnovers, defense create the turnovers. Yeah, 100% agree on that. To me, it's pretty damn simple. Run the damn ball. How in the hell is a game where you never trailed until the final minutes by any more than 4 points, do you have 25 rushes to 45 passes? That is the
most positive game I've seen in years.
Yeah, that is the disparity from Tennessee. The game against just this weekend. They threw it 45 times against only 25 rushes from 3 different backs, and you lost by 7 points.
They should have easily
won. With a 10-point lead, are you not turning around to your 6'3", 240-pound back in Latavius Murray and just running it?
Tell me how he isn't starting it.
Titans' throats.
Tell me how he isn't the starter.
Either. Like, I don't understand the way he went. Chase Edmonds.
The first few weeks, I get him not being the starter because, I mean, Melvin's been there longer. He needed to fit into the system. Great. He finally learns the system. He's fitting in pretty well, and yet he's getting half the snaps as Melvin Gordon.
Yes. To me, honestly, I need to see Marlon Mack, and I need to see Chase Edmonds.
Oh,
we've seen Latavius.
Chase Edmonds a
lot. I like Latavius as a like a big bruising back, a red zone back that can get you those tough yards. I'm not so much sold on seeing him as a starter. I think he's more of a volume back than an efficient back, and the Broncos need efficiency. Yep. With how bad their offensive line, whenever their offensive line does open up a hole, they need a guy that's going to get 10 to 15, not 3 yards in a cloud of dust. So that's why I want to see. I want to see what Marlon Mack has, and after the things we saw from Chase Edmonds after only a week and a half in this building, giving him a whole nother week to learn, being that third down change of pace back with hands, I want to see more of that. I love what we saw from the whole 5 touches he got. Like, let's give the kid some more. He was the most
entertaining and probably the best back out there that day.
Yeah, that the Broncos had in Tennessee, and the fact that he got 5 total touches, 2 rushes, and 3 passes his way, caught 2 of them, and got one
of those was that tip that could have gone either way. I believe was with Chase.
Yes, I think the key to the Broncos is the Broncos getting down the field and scoring, whether it be knowing when to go for it on fourth and goal, and knowing when to just kick a
I
field goal.
did like the aggressiveness this week on the fourth downs.
Yeah, the time management, the clock management, all of that stuff has continuously got better. The play calling has got. That's why I'm saying I want to see Hackett at least for the rest of the season.
Oh yeah.
Like if he starts regressing from here, then we got a problem. But if he keeps improving and this thing keeps getting better every single week, why? Why would you get rid of him?
I don't know.
There's so many options that are better than just cutting him and getting rid of him and just throwing ever. Like the thing I hate the most is people
I've hated seeing that. I've seen that everywhere.
Yeah, fire him now and put like you're setting Evero up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let Hackett.
Evero needs at least an off season.
Right, the only person that deserves to take any lumps anymore at this point is Hackett, and I give the man credit for not. He's still the happy-go-lucky guy.
He's
like
not
he's
clapping back at the media. He's saying
exactly.
Things.
He's not grumpy Fangio. Yes, he's honest. Like so many people are ripping him for being honest because he was honest about the play calling stuff. He was honest about the clock. Like why is that a bad thing?
That shows me progression that you have the will to get better.
Right. It shows that you are willing to introspect and realize that
I've heard he's apologized to the players plenty of times too.
Oh yeah, and you see it. Like if you go on social, all of these players are going to bat for their coaches. Name one time you saw a player go to bat for Fangio.
Not once.
Never.
Not once he threw Justin Simmons under the bus.
Coach is cool.
They were barely talking about him, and then he threw Justin Simmons under the bus. There was not a word spoken out of their mouths about him.
Yep, that was it. That was the end. Once he went after the captain of the freaking locker room, it was over.
Who still is. I don't care. I love Russ. He's a leader. But the main man in that locker room is Jay Sims.
Oh, yeah. Justin Simmons. I mean, you saw it with him even on the sideline last week with him. You know, whenever
he's on the sideline following the ball, he's in the
whenever
game.
PJ Locke did something good, Quan Williams, any of the defensive backs, the first place they went was straight to Justin Simmons to get Dak, to get love, all of those things. So
and
that's another thing that's going to be great for this week. We should be getting Justin Simmons back. Everything I've heard is that he should be back out on the field.
And that was just an unlucky injury there, and you could tell, especially he hadn't been on the field in a while. He goes to, and then you're going to London too. That's why I'm like, okay, that injury, I get it, makes sense. I'm not mad. I can't blame anybody else on that. That's just
and I'm glad they give him a week to heal up. And so, with all that being said, predictions. At the end of the show, y'all know how this goes. Go ahead, Dylan. What you got?
So, while I'm doing this, I'm going to add on this. Here's my worry for this game. This will go into my prediction. Is Max Crosby. Max Crosby. I love that guy, dude.
Big key.
He is so fun to watch unless he's playing against the Broncos. That's the only Raiders player I like to watch is Max Crosby because his game is something different. He's the most humble guy, but he's so deadly and dangerous out there, man. And that's the big key is
this
Russ
year
needing
I
to
add Chandler Jones.
Right? This is Russ needing to read the defense this week. That's the key for Russ. Read the defense. Know when you're being pressured. Know when to use your legs. Know when to get rid of the ball or throw a pass. So I believe this game is a little close. It gets a little close, but I think the Broncos do pull away this one 24-14.
Yeah, the key is going to be keeping Russ clean. I 100% agree. Chandler Jones and Max Crosby cannot touch Russ. If they can manage that with the return,
Quinn Miners will be very good on Chandler Jones.
Yeah.
He'll be on the edge. That's right.
He'll be in the Chandler Jones is on the edge.
I keep thinking he's on the Max Crosby's in the middle.
Yeah, it's going to be up to the guys we were talking about earlier. The fourth string left tackle and the fifth string right tackle.
And Chandler Jones
has to be the key to the game.
Chandler Jones is old, so don't get me wrong, but the man can still hit.
I mean, he just had the second most sacks in the league last year. So yes, he's getting old, but he's still got juice. The only reason his numbers don't look that good this year is because he's on the Raiders team. And
if he was on the Cardinals, man, he'd be looking good.
Yeah, exactly. So with all that being said, I have belief that with this being in Denver, with the fact that there's no way that
Crowd.
Nathaniel Hackett survives them losing to Josh McDaniels again and doing it in Denver. I believe the Broncos come out. They do win this. I do agree with you. It's going to be close. The Broncos offense is not good enough to blow them out. The offensive line, I should say, is not good
The
enough.
line's good. There's a chance they can blow them out.
Yeah, if it's, but again, this is
Max
a
Crosby is always
fourth
there.
string left tackle, third string center, and fifth string right tackle. So I have no
Oh,
hope.
yeah.
I'm not going to put that hope out there. The Broncos, I do believe, win this game. It's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be 17-13. Denver Broncos
like it.
win at home. Yeah. So, look at that. I swear to God, I did not look down at this before I made
Cheater.
my prediction. Me and the wife are almost identical. I said 17-13. She said 17-14. I'm liking the way this is feeling. I like the way that the Broncos are headed in a positive direction despite the loss. I know that y'all are going to say that I'm just orange-colored glasses. I don't care. I'm a realist. I promise you. If I saw things that I didn't like, and I have pointed out many of those things that I don't like, but I'm also going to keep it real on both ways. I'm not just going to be negative Nancy. So that's what we're here for, to give you the reality.
Debbie Downer.
We're not always going to tell you. Yeah, we're not always going to tell you what you want to hear, but we're always going to tell you what you need to hear. So make sure you always come back to the Breakin' Broncos podcast with your host, Dan Wetstein, my co-host, Dylan Miles. But the answer is 42. Don't question the blue.